This video is brought to you by the Deck of Mini and their Big Bad Booklet series, and by the Roll for Combat Actual Play podcast and their 3-ring adventure. Hello and welcome back to the Gallant Goblin. Today I've got an extra special episode for you. We're reviewing the first book in the new Starfinder adventure path, Fly Free or Die. This is We're No Heroes by B.J. Hensley. And Miss Hensley herself is joining us to talk about the adventure and answer a couple of our questions. But first, let me give you the basics. Fly Free or Die is a 6-part adventure path that will take you from level 1 to 12. It runs from November 2020 to April 2021, so part 1 is available now. In this adventure, you don't play heroes. At least you aren't heroes when the story begins. You're just a crew who works job to job for a megacorp. Your dream is to break free and call your own shots. And when our story begins, you might just find a way to do that. And along the way, you're going to encounter a lot of moral dilemmas that will help determine your fate as well as that of the people you meet along the way. To talk more about the adventure, let's bring in the author of We're No Heroes, B.J. Hensley. She has written for Paizo, Cobalt Press, Wizards of the Coast, and more companies than we have time to list. She's also the vice president of Lone Wolf Development, makers of the indispensable Hero Lab software, and the founder of Playground Adventures, a company dedicated to bringing family-friendly adventures to the game table to help teach those vital skills to our kiddos. Ms. Hensley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. So my first thought when I was reading through the title and reading through the summary of the adventure was that this felt inspired by Joss Whedon's TV show Firefly, as well as other scoundrels, like Han Solo. And, these characters work for a living. They haul cargo, they take odd jobs, they maybe don't always operate above board entirely. So without giving us too many spoilers, because our players who might be interested in watching or in playing this adventure are still watching at this point, is that the sort of feel that you were going for with this adventure when people take
Yeah, I think
part in
that's
it?
exactly the vibe that everybody was going for. And of course, as the author, I don't actually get to come up with the timeline or the overarching theme. That's actually done by the hardworking teams at Paizo, specifically in this case, Jason, the developer, which is listed inside the cover. That was his goal, I think, very much for us to write these as if they were space truckers. So sort of a more of a down to earth feel. We're often out there running around as heroes, and after a lot of years, heroes can get a little boring. And I think especially in today's age, we could use something a little more down to earth and a little bit closer to home. And I think that that's what we've managed to accomplish here.
That's awesome. So, one of the things I think is really hard for GMs, especially new ones, is trying to tie a character into the story in a meaningful way to kind of make sure that they have motivation to push that plot forward along, without getting too sidetracked on their own personal motivations that may not be shared by all the other players. And you've done a really good job in here in We're No Heroes of giving us plot hooks for all the various character backgrounds, and you tie those backgrounds into specific NPCs in the story. And there's a whole chapter in the book that can be a player's guide that you can just hand out to your players. And
Those are
that gives
wonderful, aren't they?
I love them, and we get them for Pathfinder. We're used to that, and we don't always
Yeah.
get them for Starfinder. And
Oh, I
so,
didn't know that.
yeah, they sometimes you'll have it in the adventure book, but you don't have that separate little booklet for Starfinder like you do for Pathfinder adventures that you can just hand out. But this is one of the first ones I've seen that have it. And so I
I'm
was
from Pathfinder, so this is my first actually foray into Starfinder. So I just assumed that they had them, that it was a common thing for Starfinder as well. I actually was not aware of that at all.
Yeah, I really wish that D&D and Starfinder, all these adventures would take that because it really helps, I think, new players, especially
It
maybe
does.
who aren't used to role-playing games, maybe have that starting
Does.
knowledge.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think too, it also helps players who, are just whether they're starting out, but even seasoned players, when you're just starting an adventure, if it's an adventure path, they're usually very, very specific, and it helps sort of tie things in and nudge you along and keep things not too entirely off the rails while still letting you have some fun. We did here at the house. I've been running Age of Ashes, and it has a player's guide, and it was really nice because with all of the kids, I have 5 boys. I don't know if you know what that's like, but you can imagine they don't always like each other on every moment of the day. And if they don't have some guidance like a player's guide, they might decide that their characters are pitted against each other. So rather than them have some creative backgrounds in which they are bickering just as much in game life as they sometimes do in real life, having the player's guide helped them to have sort of those set backgrounds of, well, this is what my character is. So I didn't give them an option. I didn't say you can do whatever or this. I said, here's what we're doing. Here's the player's guide. Pick a background. This is what we're going to do. And so they, of course, being the creatives they are, felt obligated to be true to their character's background, and it eliminated a great deal of in bickering that might have occurred otherwise. So there's a lot of uses for those players' guides, but I think parents can be very thankful for them for sure.
That's awesome too, and I think that would be great for new players too. Like having the universe of infinite options for player characters can
Oh
be
God, yeah.
intimidating, and so
It's
when you
true.
kind of maybe just here's a dozen that you can maybe choose from and build from, and they're already the GM doesn't have to worry about tying them to the adventure as much because you've done
True.
that work for them.
It's done. Yep.
So
That
yeah,
is nice
that's
to have.
I love that so much about this adventure. So now I want to go into a little bit of spoilery information. So if you are a player in this adventure or want to be a player in this adventure, this might be a good time to jump down to those conclusions in our little segmented timeline below or use those timestamps in the video description. So with that said, and maybe our players out of here for now, we have GMs here staying with us who might be wanting to run this adventure. I want to say like another one of my favorite parts of the adventure are that the characters here really have meaningful and difficult decisions they have to make. And I think that's the most important thing in an adventure. So in the beginning, they have to choose between supporting a simple shop owner and supporting their corporate overlords. And later
But
on,
nobody wants to support a corporate overlord. Who wants that?
unless that's how you make your money, right? And how you feed your family. And
Yes, and that's
so,
exactly right. It's a hard decision.
so how do you go about crafting decisions like that for adventures where it feels meaningful and there's big decisions to make, but it doesn't necessarily splinter the story into all sorts of branching pathways?
I think that is an issue you have in every game ran ever. Like you will always have players derailing, and I don't think I honestly think it's less about how you've written the adventure and more what your experience is and how good you are at keeping your team together. The adventure is absolutely written, and I'm sure, like I said, the developers worked very hard, and the team in general worked very hard to ensure that there are options, and it does feel like there's a time crunch, and that it does have that feeling of, oh God, I'm going to lose something, but we have to do the right thing, or whichever way you go, of course. But I think ultimately, like most adventures, it's on the GM to keep their players on track, and that's mostly done with the same tricks that have been around since the beginning of D&D. You know, if your players need to go left and they go right instead, you just move whatever was left over to right. You know, it's just a little bit of creative smoke and mirrors.
And I think it's great too because there are we talked about that, there are right choices and wrong choices here, right? You want to support the enslaved workers here as opposed to your corporate overlords, but it's designed so that you can support your corporate overlords and it gives you the options there. So
It does.
Some of the players are going to want to make the bad choice because maybe they're not heroes.
And that's exactly right. And that's the whole point is we're not heroes. So you can sort of go however you feel like. And I think sometimes that's the reality of life. And I think it's important that that's imparted to others. You know, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to keep your job. You may not like the company you work for. You may not agree with how they behave morally. You may not, like your boss, but if you have mouths to feed and a mortgage or a ship payment or whatever, you do have to do your job. So that can be incredibly agonizingly hard. And one of the things I noticed in playtesting was that for adults especially, there was a lot more time involved. So I think teenagers were certainly quicker to go, we'll help the shopkeeper or whatever. And the adults are like, yeah, but what are we going to eat? Like, how do we have enough? They really thought that. So I think the immersion is much easier in this adventure, I think, than some others because it is so close to reality sometimes. But there is plenty of fun and fantasy and amusement to make sure that you don't feel too grounded in the modern reality.
And I was going to say, for those of us who maybe are beholden to our corporate masters, this is our way of vicariously living out that fantasy of throwing off the shackles.
And that may be.
So hopefully that'll be a good fun thing for this adventure. I was going to
Yes.
ask you, what was your favorite thing that you added to the adventure, and why was it this, the Killer Roomba?
It was absolutely the space Roomba. So I will always love Paizo and I will always love this developer because I came to him and I said, so I want to make a space Roomba. Actually, what happened is I was writing this adventure. I got sidetracked. I made a space Roomba. And I came to him and I said, so space Roombas. And he let me do it. And I was just, I'm so excited and so thrilled that I was allowed to keep that. The first thing that I said when I think it was Eric Mona texted me that it was off to print or whatever and showed me the amazing cover, which I'm very pleased with. And the first thing I asked is, did my space Roomba make it? So
It
I'm
certainly
very
did.
excited.
We can
It's
see a
amazing.
picture of it here too. We're throwing up a picture on the screen so everybody can get a good look at it. It looks a little bit better than one that has just a knife taped to it.
I
but
thought that was pretty inventive, I like that.
I'm not the
Mr.
most.
Stabby.
It is stabby. I'm gonna have to keep the cats away from it, but otherwise, I think it'll be good to go.
I've always wanted Roombas in the house, but we have dogs, and I'm like, no.
Roombas are a lifesaver when you have pets that shed.
Well, we do have pets that shed, but what if somebody messes on the floor? I don't want to come home and have that all over my house.
I've had that more than one occasion. I can
Yeah.
relate to that for sure.
That sounds dreadful. We have white carpet. I just
Oh, no. But we do need to talk to V Muse and Patrick O'Hagan over at WizKids about they're making some new minis for Starfinder, and so
Oh my
maybe
gosh. Oh, I hope they make a space Roomba.
maybe they're watching today. We can send this to them and let them know. But we need
I
a
know
space
some of
Roomba
those
mini.
people. I need to talk to them.
reach out to V and reach out to Patrick, and they can maybe
Yes.
make it happen.
I'm still waiting for my goblin. Did you see the huge goblin that they made? I can't wait for that.
Yes, it's like almost life size for a goblin, I think.
Really, I think it is life size for a goblin. It's going to go great with my Illithid and my dragon head that I have in the hall.
We are the gallant goblin, so we were thinking about picking one up. So we're gonna have to see how that goes.
One.
We do have our little goblin here, if you can see him.
Oh, I have him. He's behind me. Oh, you can't see him in the camera. He's actually right up here. And then I also have this little guy.
Oh, I don't have one of those, and I need one.
Oh, I love him. I've had him forever. I love the goblins.
I'm gonna have to go troll. The Paizo store is surprisingly large and deep, and I need to go see if there's anything else in there I've missed.
I'm sure there is.
I will go check that out.
Always good to support them.
100%. Now, it would be remiss of me to have you here and not ask you a little bit about Hero Lab. You are on the board. What is your role there?
I'm the vice president.
Vice president of Hero Lab. And we talked about Hero Lab in our 2020 gift guide a couple weeks ago, saying that it was, to me, it is an essential tool for playing Pathfinder and Starfinder. It just takes all the paperwork and all the complex calculations off your job. Like you can focus on the story. But we do the work so
you don't have to. You can just sit back and game, and that's nice.
100%, keeping track of all those conditions and your inventory and your spells and your encumbrance, and even rolls for you, adding those modifiers so you don't have to worry about it.
It does. It's great for kids. It's great for schools and educators. We have a lot of educators that use it. In fact, I was talking to one literally just yesterday that we help get set up at schools because they have some D&D clubs there, and the kids love it. It helps them be focused. They don't have to sit there and be overwhelmed because the system sort of makes it for them.
Especially for some of kiddos, and we'll talk about this in a minute, like some of our kiddos who might be on the spectrum could probably get lost in some of this, the math and calculations.
Absolutely.
Instead of taking that off of their plate. You have any news for us about kind of what to expect from Hero Lab in the next year?
I think right now the biggest news that we have is that we're bringing Pathfinder First Edition to Hero Lab Online.
Yes.
We hope to have that accomplished by Christmas, which is in just a couple days, handful of days.
As we're recording this, it might be a little bit after Christmas when it airs.
Yeah, that's true. So it might already be out. But one of the things that nobody knows yet is that with that update, we'll also be updating our store. So a lot of people who use Hero Lab Classic, which will be around forever and we have no intention of getting rid of, you'll be able to still use Hero Lab Classic as you use Hero Lab Online as well. But one of the things that has been a frustration for many is the old outdated Hero Lab Classic store. And so we have merged that into our Hero Lab Online store to make shopping a little bit easier. And we've also created some bundles that some of our completionists will be happy with. We now have a buy everything Pathfinder bundle. And that should be launching sometime within the next week.
For those folks who may not be familiar with the difference between classic and online, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So Hero Lab Classic is over a decade old. It was the original vision of the company owner, and he, created it, I guess basically in his basement. I think it was, his office or garage or whatever, but it was definitely a homemade thing, and it went so well, and it became truly a staple at the table. But it's getting old. If you pull it up, it kind of looks a little bit like fantasy style tax preparation software. And we know that. So one of the things that I really wanted to see when I came onto this company was a newer, prettier, faster Hero Lab. And in order to do that, they decided that online was the way to go. So we have Classic, which operates entirely offline, and then we have Hero Lab Online, which is entirely online. Now, Hero Lab Online, obviously, you can't use it if you're offline. That's not true. You can use it if you're offline, and it will actually save where you were, so you can still have your character sheet and stuff like that. But you're not going to be able to update your character unless you're connected to the internet, whether that's on your phone or your tablet or whatever. Hero Lab Classic only works on Apple devices and computers. Hero Lab Online will work anywhere you can get a browser. So our Android users can use it. People who want to use it on your phone, you can use it there. It's prettier, it's sleeker. It allows you to connect with each other. And we have a lot of things planned for the future, from being able to see live the things that are going on. So, player A casts a spell and it affects the monsters, and then player B does, whatever they do. And you'll be able to see that all live. So we have a lot of connection things. Group ownership of starships. We would like to have that in the future. A party loot locker, that kind of thing. There's a lot of things that are planned and we're just a very small company, so they're very slow to come around. I mean, we have like less than 10 employees at this point. So.
Oh, wow. I think you've done a really admirable job of making it something that as complex as Pathfinder and Starfinder are, and making this software pretty intuitive. Like, I've been able to give it to my new players and just say, build a character. And it'll let you know, like, oh, you're missing a background, you're missing languages. And you just go and fill those in. And it makes it very easy for people to get started, I think, right?
Absolutely. And like everything, it has things that we could improve on. But the program has always been a great program.
Finally, I just wanted to ask you, while you're here, you're the founder of Playground Adventures, which is something that's really close to my heart. As my day job, I'm a school psychologist. I work in special education. And we've, for a long time, used role-playing games to help teach our kiddos a lot of essential skills. And I find it really works well for our kiddos who might be on the autism spectrum. As role-playing games can help with like social skills, with perspective taking, understanding how one's actions can affect the world, among so many other things. And these days, there's so many families that are dealing with remote learning. And kiddos are missing out on a lot of those social experiences that they may otherwise get. And I was going to see if you had any tips for how gamers might use role-playing games to help supplement their kiddos' education during these times, and maybe what sort of resources they can find at Playground Adventures.
So we do have a lot of resources at Playground Adventures. There's also, if anybody wants to look up Clinical Role, that's another thing they can look up. Role playing is absolutely a phenomenal tool. You were mentioning autism. One of my children is autistic, and he's 19 now. When he was younger, he was, well, I mean, like, I remember him being the toddler that beat his head into the floor level of autism. He was suspended countless times through elementary school, and we got him into role playing games because I'd been a gamer my whole life, and he grew up under the table basically listening to us play. And so I started using role-playing games with him and with others to help them have a place to vent, help boost their social toolboxes and things like that. And people thought I was a little weird at first. I mean, this was a long time ago, so this wasn't this year. This was like more than a decade ago, and people were like, really? That's what you're going to do? Let me tell you something. My son went from me being afraid every time the school rang to holding down a job when he was 16 all summer at a theme park and buying his own PlayStation. He graduated high school AB honor roll.
Wow.
And I attribute most of that to what he learned playing role-playing games, because they are a phenomenal tool to help. Where, some children are, like, my son would not do therapy. He didn't want strangers. He didn't want to talk to the school counselor. None of that, like at all. But when I could turn it into a game, when I could make him learn without knowing that he was truly learning, when his behavior was contingent upon how many experience points he got, that was a huge difference. And he learned. It wasn't like he consciously went, oh, I learned this in the game today, I'm going to apply this to life. No, it became second nature because he did it repetitively in the game, until eventually it got to the point where in his early years of high school, and again, I must remind you, this is the child who was failing, got suspended off buses. It was awful. In his early years of high school, the school would not believe me when I said he had autism.
Wow.
I had to go back and get his records to prove it. And they mainstreamed his classes for the rest of his education.
Wow.
So I think that that is absolute proof. And I have countless other stories like that, but that is probably the strongest story I have that proves again and again that these are great tools for education and for autism, for social skills, for ADD, for a great many issues. I have a friend who uses role-playing games to help women and girls process trauma. Mm-hmm. So you would be amazed what you can do with them. As far as education, we actually have a line called Fun and Facts. And the Fun and Facts line educates children while playing role-playing games. So, for example, Jay Gray, one of our authors, who's moved on to writing cyberpunk and stuff like that now, but he was our professor of puzzles for a long time, and he did a wonderful job writing a adventure about bees. And so it's almost to Magic Treehouse, or not Magic Treehouse, Magic School Bus-ish, because at some point you like shrink down and the lead bee person is telling you all about bees as you go through and try to save the hive. And it's really cute. But we also have, I think there's a science one where you actually do a science experiment during the adventure, making a potion to help save somebody. So you learn about science along the way. Our Fun and Facts do a lot of stuff like that. And I think just in general, so what people don't think about when you're playing role-playing games is the fact that you're improving your math skills, you're improving your reading skills, your reading comprehension, your creative thought. There's so much that's being improved simply by sitting down at the table for a couple hours every day. And definitely with the social aspects these days, if you've got trusted family members, you can zoom in and like Zoom the video call, not then you could sit at the table or whatever with your computers and what have you, and that allows you to have social interaction that you may not be getting because you're stuck at home. We're very lucky, or not, depending on how you look at it. I have 6 children, and my grandson lives here too. So because my oldest is almost 25. So we have a house full. We have not had social deficits. We'd like to be a little less social some days.
I bet, yeah.
No, I miss my friends. I really do. Yeah. But we definitely have a full team. So we haven't had to desperately seek out video interaction for our games. We still play at our table just like every day. But I do know we've had some Zoom games, and obviously Fantasy Grounds is an amazing tool that you can use. We use it for a Deadlands game, and I highly recommend it. Mm-hmm. It's great for getting people together across states or countries or whatever, and being able to still game. The one thing I have to advise, if you're looking for social interaction, if you are playing a tabletop, whether it's Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or whatever your choice might be, please consider using a webcam. I know it's really easy today to be like, oh, I'm in my pajamas and I want to get dressed. I want to sit here in my Cheeto dust and nobody knows. But if you're looking for social interaction, you are not going to get near the benefit from listening to a disembodied voice as you are seeing those people. Right. Now, there, of course, are exceptions to every rule. If you are working from home and you are spending all day, every day in meetings, the video on those is a whole different thing than social interaction with friends videos. Because in those videos, you're like, oh my God, I have to not fidget and sit still and be professional. No, I'm talking video with people that you don't care about. Right. Just, that you do care about, but you don't care what they see, right. That kind of thing. And I think that's very important, something that people can do.
That's awesome. And so if people want to learn more about Playground Adventures or maybe follow you on social media or platforms, where can they find you?
Yeah, so Playground Adventures is playgroundadventures.net. I am really easy to find. My Facebook is BJ Hensley 1, and my Twitter is BJ Hensley 2, and my Instagram that I almost always forget about is BJ Hensley 3, because those are the only way I could remember them. I am very ADD. I do update my Facebook very regularly, because I sometimes have to go there to get messages for work in the industry. So I remember it's there. I'm really bad about my Twitter, and I basically don't have an Instagram.
I won't tell if you don't.
And I know that's bad because, my degree field is marketing, and I push social media to my clients, and it's still 100% true. But please remember the mechanic with the broken car and have sympathy.
It's true. It's true. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, We're No Heroes is out right now. Any parting words for people who might be wanting to take on the adventure?
I just think you should have fun with it. Stick it to the man. Have fun.
Live vicariously, right?
Yes, live vicariously while you can through this amazing adventure that allows you to go out and do the things that you can't do in real life.
That's what all adventuring is all about these days. So thank you so much again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you later. Fly Free or Die Part 1 We're No Heroes is available now on Paizo.com or at your bookseller or game store of choice. The print edition here is $22.99 and the PDF version is $15.99. If you have any questions about the book, let me know in the comments section down below. Many thanks to our two sponsors for this video. First, the Deck of Many and their Big Bad Booklet series. Each booklet gives you everything you need to run a fun adventure with a new boss each month. If you're down a player sometime over the holiday season from your regular campaign game and you need a little side adventure to take your remaining players down, these provide an excellent way to do that. You get more than enough content to fill a whole session or two. This month, come meet the Hydrail, a massive multi-headed snail driven only by his need to consume magic of all kinds. Will you stop this monstrous mollusk, or will you get caught in his slimy path of destruction? Learn more and subscribe today at bigbadbooklet.com. We're also supported by the Roll for Combat Actual Play podcast and their 3-Ring Adventure series. This is an officially licensed playthrough of the very popular Extinction Curse adventure path for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, in which the players have to balance running and performing in a circus while also fighting back against a great evil. I've been really digging the series so far. The show really gets off to a bang with a mystery and investigation that the characters have to conduct among their own family of circus performers, which can, of course, put them in an awkward and unfortunate situation as they still have to work with these people to put on a show. It's a fascinating adventure so far, so come check it out with me and then discuss it with us over at Roll for Combat's Discord channel. Check out the 3-Ring Adventure series and all the other shows on offer at rollforcombat.com. And thank you, as always, for watching today. Let me know what you think of this interview format. I'm hoping to bring in more creators in the future to introduce you to. I think it's always fun and interesting to meet the people behind the adventures. Going forward, I'm going to try to solicit questions from you all prior to my interviews. I'll most likely be doing that over on Twitter and Facebook, so be sure to join us there, as well as on Instagram for some behind-the-scenes pictures and the occasional live video. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave us a little thumbs up button down below. Subscribe so you don't miss anything, and click that little bell icon to be notified when we have new videos. And again, a big thank you to Miss BJ Hensley for joining us today. For now, though, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.